It took one playoff game for the Knicks to show everybody that might not have known what the Knicks are made of. If you want pretty, then this team isn't for you. But I'll tell you what, coming into the series, I love the Knicks to beat the Sixers, and I'm even more confident after watching Saturday's Game 1 win.
I'm not sure how you could feel confident after watching it. Now, obviously, I'm happy that they won. They played like garbage. All my biggest fears, BT, were realized there. They have no secondary scoring. If the opponent, we told you, if I'm Nick Nurse, I'd double, triple team Jalen Brunson. That's what they did. I mean, they're blocking shots from behind. Brunson can't get anything going, and the Knicks don't have another option. I immediately, A, missed Julius Randle, B, said, where's your boy DiVincenzo? C, saying there's no way they're going to win this game if Brunson doesn't get going. Now, they did win the game. However, the Knicks showed, that's why the national pundits don't respect them. That is why I had concerns, not just this series, forget about Philadelphia, but going into the postseason without Randle. Who is going to score the basketball when you need it? They got lucky that it was Josh Hart, Deuce McBride. I do not think what took place in Game 1 is sustainable.
You know what's funny? You mentioned Randle. I swear to God, I didn't think about Julius Randle once the whole night. I really didn't. And
were you thinking about DiVincenzo?
Well, I mean, listen, first of all, he didn't play in the fourth quarter. Would it really matter? Because you had Deuce doing damage. Now, I look at it this way. Now, this, to me, is a massive plus. Jalen Brunson played the worst game. I know he had a few moments a little later into the game.
Yeah.
But Jalen Brunson played the worst game that he's played in months. And the Knicks won a playoff game. Now, I understand that sometimes things are easier. Think about the Golden State Warriors, not the last couple of years, but a couple of years before that, when they would just show up, they would drop $130. It looked absolutely beautiful, and they would dismantle teams. That's not the New York Knicks. So you look at whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's other things that are subjective. And I know this is kind of a corny expression, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but it's true. So you don't like the way they looked. I loved the way the Knicks looked. And let me tell you why. Number one, they out-rebounded Philly. And rebounding in the playoffs obviously matters.
That's why they won.
55-33. Okay? Boom. The Knicks shot 46% from downtown. Boom. Knicks hit almost 85% of their free throws. Boom. Oh, yeah, by the way, the Knicks took more free throws than Philly, which speaks to their aggressive nature from the start of the game. The Knicks had fewer turnovers themselves than they averaged during the regular season. The Knicks bench gave you 15 or 16 more points than they averaged during the regular season. And the Knicks held Philly to 10 fewer points than Philly averaged during the regular season. Those are 6 things I gave you, Sal. Not to mention the biggest is that Jalen Brunson played awful.
Yeah, well, that's my point.
And they won that.
Correct. They won. That's a game that they lose 99 out of 100 times. And if you're the Sixers, you got to be demoralized because that's a game they have to steal. They had that game there for the taking the entire time. They couldn't get the job done. Like the Heat in last year's semifinals, the Heat stole that Game 1 from the Knicks when the Knicks didn't get a tremendous effort. And they were able to go on and win the series because of it. Now, I felt the Knicks were going to win this series. You obviously have to feel better about that after Game 1. However, watching them, did Brunson look like a superstar to you? No superstars disappear like that. He couldn't get anything going. Matter of fact, he got shut down. They're blocking shots left and right. The size was a factor. You're right. Not until later in the game did he start to look somewhat competent. Yep. And he'd be the first one to tell you that. And I'm not knocking him. I love him. But he was awful in Game 1. Anunoby, their second best player, he stinks. I told you about Anunoby. He cannot create. Period. He is a spot-up shooter. That's it. Without Julius Randle there, Anunoby is useless. He tries to get the ball going, the paint attack. He can't do it. So I'm tired of hearing about Anunoby and his grade. He could be a secondary scorer. DiVincenzo, where was he? Nowhere to be found. Predictably so in the postseason. These guys need to wake up. Josh Hart is not going to, hit 3 of 4 3-pointers. He's not going to be able to do what he did, or 4 of 8, whatever it was. But down the stretch there, he was hitting, big shots.
He basically didn't miss down the stretch. Well, same with Deuce.
Yeah, but you hold your breath every time he takes a shot. He's not a good two guard. He can't shoot. Now, he did do it, and he ended up winning the game for the Knicks. Deuce McBride, same thing. You think McBride's going to pour in 21 every night? They cannot play like that and win another game in this series.
Well, listen, I'm not going to disagree with Brunson. Of course, he's got to play better. Now, I'm sure you think that he will, right?
Yes, but I have my concerns the way that Philly just shut him down. There is nobody else Now, look, you give Mitch Robinson credit defensively. Obviously, the energy was there. And like we said, you could go around the horn a little bit and say, yeah, McBride was good or Josh Hart was good at certain moments. Anunoby did hit a big three, but useless outside of that. Here's my concern. Philadelphia is going to throw the same defense at Brunson. Who is going to beat them? If I'm Nick Nurse, I say, you know what? We should have won that game. I'm doing the same exact thing. Where's the secondary option? Whereas if you had Randall, you can't focus that defense on Brunson. So I hope Brunson gets better. But what I saw a guy who was getting overmatched by a double team and size.
He looked uncomfortable. I'm going to give you that. Yeah. But to me, and one of the things about this Knicks team is, and you really have to appreciate, some of the, I don't want to say the finer points, but some of the things that are less obvious, like this is who they are. Like when somebody think about their season and then think about game one of the playoffs here. During the season, they were dealt adversity after adversity, and they always responded. And the other night, Jalen Brunson was suffocated to the point where, you're right, he had a rough time getting the ball past half court. I mean, everywhere he went, shots blocked from behind.
That's what I'm saying.
No, and now the onus is on Tom Thibodeau to react to the defense that Philly put on Brunson in game one. And I would imagine he'll have an answer. Plus, I think Brunson's going to play better.
I do, too. Ultimately, I do.
Hey, listen,
he's got to.
Well, Sal, think about this. If we don't think that Jalen Brunson's going to play better, then why were we wasting our time saying that Jalen Brunson's a superstar?
Well,
superstars don't stay down too long. He's bouncing back tonight.
Superstars don't have a game like that.
No, that's completely false.
To get shut down like that?
100%. Wait. So, okay.
Well, see, the size to me was a factor. Postseason game one at home, I get that everybody has a bad game. That was That to me was an type game where you saw the size have an impact. You saw him get the Knicks right now don't have another option. It was all on Jalen Brunson. Other superstars, BT, figure out a way to at least have their game, even when they're having a bad game. And I know we ended up with 22 points, but still, it was the quietest 22 points you'll ever see. I came away from that, especially early on, thinking this could be a problem. Superstars don't get handled and shut down like that. And he was pressing and forcing the issue a little bit. But to me, and I love Jalen Brunson. You know that. I do think he's a superstar. That was a game that at least is eye-opening, if not alarming.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see it that way. I love this team. I have great confidence they were going to win the series going in. I think they win tonight. I think Brunson plays awesome, and I think that this thing is just going to roll. I mean,
but didn't you think he'd play awesome in game one? Because I did.
No, I did. I definitely did. But that's why I feel
where he's getting shots blocked from behind, getting manhandled, looked uncomfortable, turning the ball over.
Understood. Didn't play well. I mean, he for parts of that game he looked awful. I got you, but that's even more for me. Even more reason why this team is dangerous because they played offensively. They played. He played probably a D game. And overall, between him and DiVincenzo, who didn't even play down the stretch, they played collectively as a duo, maybe their worst game of the season.
Anunoby, 1 3-pointer, and it was a big one.
No, I know. He didn't play well either. And they still won.
Well, that is an excellent point, obviously. Like, if you watch that game, I can watch that game every single time, and I'm thinking the Sixers are going to win that game. And the fact that they won is great, but I think that maybe says more about the Sixers than it does about the Knicks.
877-337-6666. BT and Sal, Brandon Tierney, and Salicata here on The Fan. Of course, we'll get to these calls now. We'll throw a little Judge stuff, a little Rangers stuff. Obviously, hit it all. Mets 2 out of 3. We are and short show, but we're going heavy Knicks right now. I love the grit. Mike, Sal, concerned a little bit. Mike on Staten Island. Mike, what's happening?
What's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call.
You got
Mike?
it, buddy.
Real quick. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not worried about game 2, honestly, because we can't expect DiVincenzo or Brunson to have bad games like the first game. And I really don't see anyone on their side stepping up to make shots or make plays outside of their big 2. So, not really worried for tonight. But, Mike, the reason for my call is I'm in a group chat with a lot of, big Knicks fans. And I have friends who completely dismissed Mitchell Robinson and what he's done. And I get it. There's a small contingent of Knicks fans who say, oh, we should, re-sign Hartenstein and trade Mitch, and just completely forgetting the things that this guy did last year in the playoffs. And just straight up, Isaiah Hartenstein, very good player. Would love to be able to keep him. But that guy can't do what Mitchell Robinson did to Joel Embiid.
No, I agree with that, Mike. But here's the problem with Mitch is that every game he misses 20, 30 games minimally. And that's a problem. And I don't even want to get into that.
Zero offensive game. Now, the fact that he hit 2 big free throws was great.
It was massive.
And by the way, What the hell are the Knicks doing? How do you inbound the ball there to Mitchell Robinson? Are you out of your mind? Oh, my God, they had their head up their rear ends. BT, that is a game. I don't care if you go back to the 90s. That is a game the Knicks lose 99 out of 100 times. They did some stupid things. They played poorly. Their top 3 guys arguably had the worst games that they've had all season long, and yet they still won the game. So there is something to be said about that. But my goodness, they were trying to lose that game. How do you inbound the ball to Mitchell Robinson?
That's a brain lapse right there. Funny thing, too, about the expectations for Brunson to bounce back starting tonight and start to resemble the guy who we watched and marveled at all season. Like, you mentioned Randall earlier, and I didn't think about Julius Randle once during the game.
I'm shocked at that.
Yeah, I didn't. That doesn't mean that they can't use him at some point. I get it. I don't want to even get into the Randall conversation too deeply now.
We don't have to get into that now.
But let me just put it this way. Like, if Randall played poorly, like he usually does in the playoffs, game 1, and we're on the air going into game 2, I don't have supreme confidence that Randall bounces back in game 2. I am absolutely convinced that Brunson just lights it up tonight.
But watching
he might not, but that's what I think he's going to do.
But watching the game prior to Deuce McBride going off, watching that game, who do you have confidence in when they shut down Brunson to score? Like, at least if Randall's there, I feel like, okay, get the ball to Randall. They have an option. They have a 1-2 punch. You can dismiss some of the stuff that Randall does. Obviously, with the ball in his hands in a big spot, maybe turnover, whatever. He doesn't make the best decision all the time. But still, there's no question he is their second best scoring option.
Yep.
Without him, it's a crapshoot. Now, Deuce McBride showed that he's got stones. I get that.
And he showed that all year, Deuce. It's not like he just came out of nowhere. Deuce has had a really good season.
And he says the right things. He's got the right attitude. I was concerned just being, a younger point guard. How's he going to go in the playoffs and on the road? But he showed, and especially in that performance, he's a beast.
Yeah.
But without him, they'd have been dead in that game.
Well, I get it. And generally, role players play better at home. So we'll see, if Brunson continues to struggle during the series, you go down to Philly. Or, if you move on, it looks like the Bucks had a good game. If it's Milwaukee and these guys hit the road and they don't play particularly well, then it's going to be a big problem here. But, see, I didn't think about, and I know what you mean, like when Brunson's off, if Randall's there, he can absorb some of the heat there. There's no doubt. And he's got a lot of great things about Randall.
At least draw some of the defense, too.
Yeah, but I wasn't, no question. But I wasn't watching the game saying, boy, they can really use Randall now. My thought watching the game in real time was Brunson's going to hit his next shot. All right, Brunson's going to get hot. Brunson's going to do that. Like, that's how much confidence I have in Brunson. He didn't play well, and they still won the game. And by the way, I don't know how healthy Embiid is. I mean, going into how sore is he? How much was adrenaline the other night? Once he got hurt, off the dunk, off the backboard, he didn't look to be the same guy. He looked very hesitant. He was shied away from shots. I think it could be a little worse going into the game tonight. I don't know, but we'll see. Alex in Hoboken, BT and Sal. Alex, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, guys? Thanks
Hey,
for taking the call.
You got it, man.
All right, so 2 quick things on the Knicks. So, Sally, I got to put you in your place a tiny bit here. It's game 1 to me is so simple. Brunson played awful. Hart, DiVincenzo played awful. And Hart didn't even contribute much until the late threes. Mm-hmm. And we still rolled. The reason
No. Hold on.
Okay.
They didn't roll. They won. They did not roll.
Oh, fine. But my point is, the reason we did, and the reason we're going to win this series, and the reason we were confident coming in, we are so much deeper.
Yep.
But McBride stepped up. Who's going to step up tonight? Maybe it'll be Brunson who'll go.
Well, and by the way, Alex, don't forget about Bogdanovich.
It better be.
Bogdanovich stepped up. Bogdanovich stepped up as well.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. So, are we really going to have another night where Brunson is lost, DiVincenzo's a non-factor? It's not going to happen. And if it does,
I don't think DiVincenzo's that good. See, there's the difference, Alex. I didn't think DiVincenzo is that good. I didn't think I know Josh Hart can't score. Now, he hit some big shots. And look, I love his heart and all the intangibles that he brings. But as far as having that secondary scorer, I never believed that this Knicks team had it. All that was true. Oh, and by the way, Brunson on top of that was shut down. You're right, they won. I don't know how you can watch that game and not be concerned. Unless you think Brunson's going to put 40 up tonight, and I don't. I mean, I think he's going to be better. I don't think he's going for 40. Are you going to count on McBride again for what? Or do you think DiVincenzo's going to bounce? I don't know if he is or not. I don't trust these guys. If DiVincenzo was as good as everybody was telling me he was going to be, then he shouldn't have his rear end on the bench in the fourth quarter. And he was, because he wasn't impactful at all. That was my fear going in. He's not a guy you could rely upon. Now, maybe tonight is his night. Maybe McBride doesn't have it, and DiVincenzo. And that's, to your point, BT, about the depth of this team. But, man, am I concerned about it. The Knicks don't have that second guy. Even Anunoby Anunoby, who's their second best player, he can't score without being spot-up shooter.
Listen, this is why the Knicks are going to have to make a big move this summer. Like, we've told you this. This is the summer where the Knicks are going to pounce. But right now, you can't pounce till it's over. And do I expect Brunson to score 40 tonight? Back to something Sal just said. I don't know if he's going to score 40. I know he's going to play better, but I also don't think they need him to score 40. That's the thing.
Who do you think the Knicks' three best players were in Game 1?
In Game 1, I would say
top three.
I would say certainly McBride,
Right.
Hart down the stretch, Mitchell Robinson, and even Bogdanovich, who did a lot of good things too.
Think about that.
Yeah, but
I know.
Now that's not going to win you a championship, but that's good enough to carry the mail when your star really struggles in Game 1. And ultimately, we'll find out if the defense and the way they harassed Brunson is something that he can work around, given that size deficiency and how they defended him. Maybe that's just a series-long thing.
Oubre, I don't like. As far as him running his mouth, he was a pain in the ass defensively.
Yeah, no, Oubre's listen, Kelly Oubre's a tough player. Tyrese Maxey's the biggest issue on the court.
Correct.
We can sit here and talk about Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey got to the rim whenever he wanted.
Correct. And it is clear to me that the Sixers have the better players. Obviously, when you want to talk about Maxey or Embiid, even with a compromised Embiid, if the Sixers played with a fraction of the heart and energy and toughness the Knicks play with, they would have blown the Knicks out of the guard.
Well, maybe they don't have that toughness and energy. And that's something you don't turn on and turn off. That's what listen, this Knicks team is far from perfect, especially if Brunson's like this. But I ask you, Knicks fans, as imperfect as they played in certain spots, Sal's not wrong about that. Think about the things they did well. They punished. They destroyed. They flat out punked Philly 55-33 on the backboard. That's not getting a few lucky caroms. That's not chasing down a few, errant threes and getting a little lucky. That is going into the paint and having more will and toughness and stones than Philly. Now, shots might not drop. I understand that. But that toughness that you saw Game 1, that ain't going away. Because that's who the Knicks are. And if you've watched them all season, you know. 877-337-6666, BT and Sal on the Fan. Inside of our Town Fair Tire studio, we are. Town Fair, of course, reminds you that you always get the guarantee lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. So you can look at it this way. This is what we want the calls to really be on. Brunson played awful. They won. Now, to me, I take away good stuff from that. Good stuff. But you might see it a little bit more like Sal, where if Brunson doesn't wake up, what happened the other night is not necessarily going to happen again, which creates a problem. So that's kind of where we are. Knicks get the first one. Rangers get the first one. Judge is a mess. And the Mets win 2 out of 3. We'll get to all that other stuff later. Right now, rolling with the Knicks.
Your official station to talk Knicks. The Fan, 101.9 FM, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. For over 35 years, we've grown by offering our clients more offices, more lawyers, and recovering more than $20